You know, one of the things about the other people running, there seems to be, and I don't know, it could just be me, and one thing I've noticed it's disturbing, and I'm not sure, even on this channel or on Public Square, there's not a willingness from a certain group of people to engage at all with anybody. They just won't answer questions. It's weird to me. I don't really see how that benefits anybody, including, most importantly, the community. So if there's any kind of an effort to not go on platforms, I think that's terrible.
I'm Brenda Stratman with Costa Mesa Brief, and today we are meeting with Jeff Pettis at Heller Park. He's running for City Council in District 6. Thank you for meeting with us today. Now, you said you had a message for our viewers?
I do. I just wanted to take this opportunity to recognize all the people that perished in the attacks on the World Trade Center in 2001, and all the first responders in the military, our boys and girls over there fighting and that have perished too. It's a day of remembrance. I just wanted to say that.
We are meeting on September 11th, so that is a good message for right now, and I noticed you have a 9/11 pin.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. What district? I said you were running for District 6, but who are you running against in District 6?
So in District 6, I'm running against Jeff Harlan, who is Katrina Foley's person. I'm running against a young lady named Hegema Abraham, who's a very nice young lady. I'm running against, or I shouldn't say against, with Lee Ramos, who's been doing this a long time and highly respected too. So I'm in good company.
And why are you running for City Council?
Why am I running? Well, I have been a political junkie, say, ever since my undergrad as a political science major at Cal State Long Beach. Since then, I've been into politics nationally, and ever since then, I've thought about getting involved. Never did it. Fast forward to present day, 2018 came around, and I'm a person that always believes that local politics is where everything happens. I watched the 2018 wipeout of one side of the entire slate, and I think that there was some, can't prove it, but I think there was some ballot harvesting things going on. I'm just going to say it, but so that got my attention. There was a lopsided power dynamic at that point in the government, and I decided the health situation hit, and decided that it was time for me to get in. So here I am.
Now, so our City Council is supposed to be nonpartisan.
It is.
And I know you mentioned that it did switch last election to one side, but before that it was heavy the other side.
Right.
Why didn't you run then? Didn't that bother you then?
It didn't. I don't like one-sided on either side, and I wasn't ready to do it at that point. I just started thinking about taking the leap, and at that time I wasn't ready to fully commit. But you're right. I think it's not a good thing to have a power imbalance on either side.
So we'll touch on that again later. First, you do have a great bio. Did go to your website, so why don't you tell us more about yourself?
Well, again, my name is Jeff Pettis, running for District 6. I am married with 3 daughters. We live right across the street here in District 6. I've been here for 9 years. I've been in either Costa Mesa or Newport Beach my entire life. Grew up in Newport in the Port Streets, went to Corona Del Mar High School, graduated political science degree in Cal State Long Beach, went to work for Frito-Lay in the business world and an auto group after that. And then somewhere in that period of time, I decided I wanted to make a career change. And I have a lot of medicine in my family. And I landed on becoming a nurse because I wanted to help people. So I went and got my Master's of Science in Nursing at Cal Bap University. And I've spent the last 10 years in healthcare, specifically mental health. I've done private sector work as a nurse manager in substance abuse at a private treatment center. And for the last 7 years, I've been in nursing management at the VA. Right now, I manage all of outpatient psychiatry at Long Beach VA. I have about 30 nurses that report to me.
There's actually a lot there to cover that will play into some of the questions we ask in these videos. Let's start with what's unique to your district. What in District 6 is needed to focus on that maybe the other districts aren't experiencing?
Good question. I think when you say unique to District 6, I have spent a lot of time asking people, or my meet and greets, talking to people on the phone and asking them what their most important issues to them are, because that would be the most important issues for me to address. And these are going to be some familiar topics, but homelessness, sober living homes, low level, I don't even want to call it crime, but petty theft, nuisance, things like that. And fiscal responsibility are like the top 4 or 5 that I hear. Fiscal responsibility at the government level are what I hear about most. If you want me to jump in on the homelessness piece right out the gate. So homelessness is near and dear to me. When I say near and dear, I mean I have a lot of experience working with folks in that arena, mental health, homelessness. HUD-VASH is a big department at the VA. I won't use too many acronyms because we're not in the military here, but I was there at the Santa Ana riverbed with one of my nurse practitioners when they did that whole clearing out of the riverbed. So I was involved in them being moved out. I didn't like the way that went down at the time, but I learned, just to keep it brief, to me, the way I see homelessness, there's really 3 major groups. There's a lot of different variables, but you have the chronically homeless. When I say chronically homeless, I mean folks that are truly homeless, and they oftentimes have untreated thought disorders, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, things like that. These are the folks that can be outreached to, in my opinion. Then the second group would be your kind of transient homeless, not necessarily going to be homeless forever, might have been coming off a sober living house, something like that. Third group would be your service resistant homeless. So those are the 3 groups that I see we could use to try to address. When I say problem, I think I think that homeless people deserve help, and they need all the help services the government can provide. At the same time, I believe the community has a right to live in a safe community and be proud of where they're living. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think we can do both. So on the outreach piece, I believe if we focus on NHS, I spoke to some former NHS Network for the Homeless Solutions people that is a current program here in Costa Mesa. We could use them to do the outreach piece. I believe we can help these people. They're currently understaffed. There's not enough social workers to go outreach. What they have done in the past, and I think they're still doing, is interviewing each and every homeless person on the street, assessing them, understanding what their needs are, and that's how we determine who can be helped. So we take social work out, if we can get people medicated that have thought disorders, Brandy, that can go a long way in getting these people off the street. If there's a schizophrenic person who's not medicated, a lot of these folks are unmedicated, and they get them back on their meds. It's a dramatic improvement in a person's quality of life, and I believe we can help those people.
I mean, we have College Park that does a lot of that, and we have the Bridge Shelter now.
The Lighthouse? No, is that different?
The Bridge Shelter,
okay.
Yeah.
So we are doing it. I realize that I don't think it's being done, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but I think that I was told there's not enough social work to address all the different people out there that need help.
Would that be a city level or county level?
Well, NHS and the Network for Homeless Solutions is a city level initiative, and I know that I was told that they have one social worker there right now, which is covering all outreach needs at the city level. So I have 3 that work for me in one area at the VA, so one's not going to cut it. I think we need to pour more resources into that endeavor, in that part of it. Did that answer your question? Or?
Yeah, that was actually very extensive. Thank you. Now, you had mentioned about the city council being one-sided, and we had talked it is supposed to be nonpartisan. So what can you do to help it be nonpartisan if you're elected?
Well, if it's already nonpartisan, right? You mean, and I think I would act as a counterbalance to, like, currently there isn't any, well, there's 2 people that are there to, I'm not talking partisanship, I'm talking decision making when it comes to fiscal decisions, when it comes to large policy decisions. I think it's 5 to 2. I want to be another voice. I want it to be as even as possible.
What are these fiscal issues?
Well, I don't. I want to say. I mean, we obviously have the big. Everybody mentions the big. They like to say the $30 million budget deficit expected. I know that's a giant.
Is that from the reserves or the regular city budget?
I'm told that the projected regular city budget should be in a deficit of $30 million fiscal year 2021.
So a deficit, that would mean that's money they owe, or just money they need to...
Unfunded liability.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know that's a big topic. See, I'm little old Jeff running for District 6, and I'm not going to pretend that I think I can go into City Council and solve the pension crisis. It's a huge,
And it's been ongoing for many years.
It's been an ongoing deal.
Through many councils.
Too many councils, and it's a huge, but what I will say is that take some of like the substance abuse folks at work that we talk to, admitting a problem is the first step. So I think that we need to acknowledge there's an issue. We can start there. I think there are other things that can be done to address. I think the state's going to take care of the pension problem on its own eventually. I don't think that's something that is going to be solved overnight, but there are other things that we can do to help.
So back to the homeless issue, just because with the current situation, some financial institutions last week released some statistics, and they project that California is facing 37% of our renters are going to be facing eviction on January 1st. Now that's actually a lot better than other states, so it's looking to be bad. How can we address that with our homeless issue?
You mean you're suggesting that people that would be asked to leave their apartments would then be homeless?
Yes.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case that they'll all be homeless if they're asked to leave. But yes, I think that in these times, under these conditions, I do believe help is. I think as a society that it's not a bad idea to continue rent forgiveness for these folks that can't pay the rent right now. I don't think that should be a permanent solution for an indefinite period of time. But as long as Gavin Newsom's going to say you guys need to be shut down, then I think we need to continue helping these people. And I'd probably get smacked around for being non-consistent with it's not a partisan. This whole thing that's happening to all of us doesn't know any partisan. These people need help and we need to help them, as long as we're forcing the things to be locked down.
So along those lines, the city had a lot of things to deal with on their own level. I know that they've reached out to 5,000 of the small businesses to guide them into applying for what the county offered or what the city offered to try to keep them afloat. They had their own rent, I want to say mandates. They had their own help for renters. They have the mask mandate. Is there anything you would have done differently?
Some people talk about, hey, we need to be open more than 25%. I think that's a current rate. The thing on that is that we're not going to open anything until Gavin Newsom says we're going to. So that's that for opening the business. I believe that we should, if it was up to me, we'd open everything 100% right now. But what we have to do, I am not a fan of the mandate at all. I think, look, I wear a mask all day, every day, and I believe in infection control. I believe in everything having to do with not transmitting the health concerns to each other or to other people. But that being said, I'm also a believer in liberty and freedom. I believe the CDC's come down with a set of guidelines, and they are evidence-based and science-based. I believe we can count on each other as citizens to follow those guidelines. We don't need government to tell us how to do that. Now, I believe that one of the things that's hurting tourism, you asked about business, how we can help them other than FPP loans and opening up. I believe there's this culture of fear right now that is being fed by the media, and people like to throw around. I think this whole narrative has been hijacked for political purposes when it comes to the health crisis. And what we can do is bring down the heat and stop focusing on things that are not true about the science. Focus on the positive and what's happening, and bring down the level of fear. I think that's going to bring out tourism. I believe people are going to stop hiding in their garage, and they'll go out to Starbucks, go to the mall, even though the mall's kind of weird to go to right now. We went to South Coast Plaza recently. It was terrible. It's sad to see, but there are things we can do.
Yeah, my husband and I did go to Westminster Mall, and it was a whole other world.
Yeah, it's like, what is happening here? Like Legoland's usually pouring, or is it Legoland and Disney Store is like empty? That's never happened.
So you had mentioned you've worked with sober living.
I used to, in the private sector, I was very involved with those folks.
Okay, so the city's been in and out of courts. They've worked with other cities that have been in and out of courts. Is there any more that you think we could do?
So that whole situation's a nightmare, according to, well, if you ask the citizens, it's so yes, the court issue is, and you can correct me, Brandon, if I'm wrong on this, is I think it's the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, protects addiction. And you know what, I don't fault the addicted people for this. They deserve help and they should be a protected class. What I'm looking at is I blame the owners of some of these facilities, not the addicts. There's state licensed ones, there's licensed ones by the city, and ones that aren't licensed at all. So we have to use, I'm just going to say it, the way to get the state licensed ones and the quality ones, the Northbounds of the world, others that are really good outfits here, need to be supported. The ones that are not good need to be addressed. And how we do that? Ordinance enforcement is the only way I can see putting pressure on these people. So what does that mean? I'm going to keep it really simple. These places have to follow the rules just like any other business, and a lot of them aren't. You're zoned for 8 beds. You got 16 beds in there. There are ordinances on the books now that give me the right as an enforcer to go into that home at that point. So with my experience, and I'm not being all that, but I can walk into one of these homes. I used to do it in the private sector, and I can see right away, is this person, do they have is everybody BLS certified? Do they have Narcan? Are they logging the groups? Do they have groups? Is there a house manager? I mean, there's very obvious right away if the place is legit. And I think I could be helpful in identifying those places that are playing games and they need to go.
And now, how do you feel about protesting at elected officials' homes?
You're talking about the recent Mayor Foley thing and
others?
That
group has actually
yes.
been going to other mayors' houses.
Yes.
In other cities.
Yes. Look, I'm a huge believer in constitutional liberties, and that's a First Amendment right for people to do that. I would never suggest that they should not have the right to do that. Would I like it as a councilman? Might it happen? Yes, it might happen, and no, I won't like it. But look, as long as they're obeying the law and following, and they're exercising their First Amendment right and doing it by the book, I'm good. But if they were in my area and they started menacing my daughter or started doing things that weren't legal, then we have an issue that I'm not going to put up with. But as long as they're following the law and practicing their First Amendment right, I'm good. You can't tell them no.
So on crime, what do you think the city could do more for?
So crime's been good, relatively better than good overall since what, 14? I forget the exact numbers, but since 2014, major crime.
I think it was a 32% spike.
Yeah, and I'm not worried so much in this city, in my district, with rape, murder, mayhem, things like that. I'm more I'm focused on what the quality of life issues that my constituents are telling me about, which includes, hey, somebody ransacked my cars and took my wayfarers. Hey, somebody jacked my Amazon box, or hey, there's this guy walking around my property. That stuff is a quality of life issue that comes up every time I talk to a group of people. So what do we do? If I'm saying we need to keep an eye on finances, most people will say we got to get the police more involved. Well, that's just, I can't say I want to reduce financing in the government, be more slim, and then say we need more police. I am a huge supporter of the police. In fact, I came this close to becoming an LA police officer when I was young, and I have a huge amount of respect for them. But I think right now, this is going to sound a little, I don't know if it'll sound weird or not, but I think a private sector approach is the way to go on some of these issues. What do I mean? Nextdoor, Ring doorbell. We have all these pictures and we have all these videos of people up to stuff. Can I expect the police to come out and respond to my neighbor that got their Amazon package jacked right away? I don't think that's I don't think it's reasonable to expect an immediate response from the police. It might be. I don't think it is. I think that if we got together and use a non-municipal collaboration amongst neighbors and get together to create a database of sorts. Stay with me here, I know this is a little long-winded. And we could, a city like Beverly Hills, for example, they contract, they don't have a city attorney that's appointed, they contract with a law firm, and they put together cases, give it to the law firm to prosecute misdemeanor crimes. I think if we did something like that on these issues with Costa Mesa, we could leave the police alone and let them go after it with a real crime. I mean, can you imagine having a subscription service of a guy roaming around in a car with low light cameras, high definition, that I could call as a subscriber and say, hey, there's this guy out here, and get an immediate response, I'd pay for that. I would. I don't know if everybody would, but I would. So,
that might be a popular idea.
Yeah, it might be. I hope so. So we'll see.
So one final question. Why should the voters of District 6 vote for you?
Why should they vote for me? I think I'm a qualified person in terms of leadership. I've shown that I can lead big groups of people at my current career in the business world. I can negotiate. I think when you get into city government, I haven't been there yet. My thought is that you need a person who's mature, serious, able to write well, speak well, negotiate, listen, and be in a room full of really important people and not be intimidated. And I'm not intimidated at any of that. And I want to address the issues that matter to the people, and that's what I'm here to do, and that's it.